The following program contains sexual content. Viewer discretion advised.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
You knew Jason how long before the two of you moved in together?
2 weeks.
He's been found guilty of sexual molestation of a boy and a girl. And you have two boys.
Christina knew that there were sexual allegations against me.
You had the papers from CPS.
I was reading through it and just never got to the sexual allegations.
You never got to that part? The molestation, you say, did not happen.
No, it did not.
Did you attack her in front of a mirror and choke her while she watched?
I did not want to lose her.
So you were trying to show her how much
I cared.
you understand how insane that sounds? Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you
I
down.
try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. How you doing? How are you? The day a mother gives birth is one of the happiest days of her life. But for my guest, Christina, it ended up being one of the worst. Just 2 hours after her son was born, she received horrible news. She was told her boyfriend, Jason, had to leave the hospital immediately and have no contact with the baby. A CPS worker told Christina that he was guilty of something so sinister and unspeakable that he posed a danger to the newborn. Christina says her mother, Mary, is fully convinced Jason is guilty and doesn't want him anywhere near her daughter or her grandson. Jason adamantly denies the findings against him. He says he is heartbroken that he has to stay away from his newborn son and the love of his life. He's here to prove his innocence so that he can be with Christina. Now, Christina wrote to me desperate to find out the truth.
When I met Jason, it was love at first sight. Within 2 weeks, he moved in with me. We were in love. I did know that he was previously married. Jason told me that he had lost the rights to his 4 children because of his ex-wife being neglectful. I felt sympathy for him because he didn't say it in an angry way. I got pregnant in May of 2015. The day that we had our child was one of the best days of our lives and also the worst days of our life because that was the last day that we were able to be a family. 2 hours after my son was born, CPS came to the hospital. CPS said, Jason has been accused of sexually molesting his daughter and his son. Some of the things that I was told were some of the most heinous things that you could ever possibly think of an adult doing with a child. It made me physically sick to my stomach to hear these things. The CPS worker told me that Jason was aware that if he had had any other children after his 4 previous children, that they would automatically be taken away from him. He never mentioned that to me. I was devastated. CPS gave me a choice. They said if I don't sign the piece of paper that would keep Jason out of my son's life, they would have to take custody of all 3 of my children. Jason hasn't seen his son now for 2.5 months. To this day, he keeps telling me that he is completely innocent. I believe that the CPS made up these allegations to take his children away from him. I'm still in love with him even today. But I feel like I need to know the truth so that I can decide whether I want him in our lives.
Christina's mother, Mary, says her daughter is being foolish and turning a blind eye to Jason's past.
When I heard that Christina was pregnant, I was shocked. Jason is a very controlling, angry person. Why do you let him treat you like you're a possession?
He makes me feel like he does it because he loves me so much.
Jason has a dark side. I don't feel that you are safe with him. I have seen outbursts from Jason. I heard that Jason choked Christina out and made her watch in the mirror till she passed out. I have heard about him shoving her. Somebody's going to be dead over it. When CPS came and told us that Jason had sexually molested his daughter, it floored all of us. Jason told Christina the kids were taken away due to neglect. I do believe that Jason was lying. I believe 100% that Jason did sexually abuse his children. It doesn't sound like something that a 4 or 5-year-old child would make up. It was very detailed. Jason lost all access to my grandson right after he was born. If I learned that Christina has been letting him see that baby, I will step in and take that baby. He's not to be around the children. If he molested these kids, I don't care if he rots in hell.
Okay, obviously this is a issue of great magnitude and gravity to you in your life here because you have a 2.5-month-old child that you have had with this man, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you have 2 other children at home.
Yes.
So you knew Jason how long before the 2 of you moved in together?
2 weeks.
Wow, 2 weeks. How did you meet him?
I met him when I was at through a mutual friend.
Okay, so you met him through a friend, and you had just known him for 14 days,
Right.
2 weeks.
But it was like it was love at first sight for me. He told me everything I wanted to hear. I was broken. I was
Did you talk
alone.
about this with your mother?
No, I didn't.
Did she know you moved him in at 2 weeks?
No,
You had no idea?
no idea.
You knew that he
I
lived
knew
with me.
that he was at the apartment where she lived a lot, but I didn't know that he actually lived there.
Right. And you moved him in with you and your 2 boys?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And you did not know that?
No.
Okay. Were you concerned at all that here's a man you don't know other than 2 weeks, and you're moving him in with your 2 children?
No, I wasn't.
I mean, you're in love with him at first sight. I get the romance
Right.
and
And
infatuation and that, but you've got 2 children.
Right, and my children were too. From day one, he won their hearts over almost immediately as well.
Well, they're not old enough to make that choice.
So how'd it go?
It was going great at the beginning. I
Right.
mean, it's like he was my best friend.
And what did he tell you about himself? When did you start learning about his life and his history and how things?
Well, from day one, he had told me that he had been married and he had lost his children, but also from day one, he had always put it on his ex-wife that he was gone working a lot on the road, and he said he felt that if he would have left his ex-wife, then he would have never lost his kids.
It's considered to be good public policy for children to remain with their parents, right? It's just kind of our society's more and folkway. We want children to be with their biological parents.
Absolutely.
And so when that's not the case, usually something substantial has happened. I mean, when the government intervenes and says, we're going to take biological children away from their biological parents, there has to be some pretty major thing has happened.
And I understand that now, but at the beginning, I had never dealt with CPS before. They were never in my life as a child.
Well, but don't you know commonsensically? I mean, for somebody to come take your children away from you, wouldn't you think that they would need to have a pretty good reason?
Yes, and I do think that now, but I guess I was blind.
You didn't think about that then? I mean,
I didn't.
Here's a man, and he's had not 1, not 2, but 3, 4 children, and all 4 children have been taken away from him. And it wasn't just that he lost custody. He told you they had terminated his parental rights.
He didn't. He thought that he didn't know that he lost his rights. Is what he told me.
He signed a paper where they wrote
he
that
never.
he lost.
Never.
The court papers say he lost parental rights.
Are you saying he didn't know his rights had been terminated?
Right. He didn't find that out until after the fact that his rights were terminated.
So after what fact?
So after we had lost our son.
And why did he tell you he lost access, let's just call it access, rights, custody, whatever? Why did he tell you that he lost his children?
Because of his ex-wife being neglectful.
But every time CPS came to the house, it was Jason that was there with the kids.
Okay, so he told you that because his wife was not a good mother, they took the children away from him.
CPS. It's almost like they're conspiring against him.
And their motive would be?
They don't like him.
Well, they didn't just go through the phone book and say, let's see, Jason, let's pick on this poor bastard. And later, You had your rights to your children terminated for molestation you didn't do.
I know I'd never touched my children.
He will not be around my grandkids ever again, ever.
Monday on an all-new Dr. Phill. These battling exes are back.
You said you couldn't take the polygraph last time.
Can I say something about that?
No, Joe, no, you may not. Stop.
Did you say he passed the test because he cheated?
It was more like, did you? It wasn't, I did
So the
say-
answer is yes.
Your neighbor is here.
I don't care to see her or talk to her. No, that's not fair to me.
You'll at least hear what she says
I
on
don't care to
tape.
hear it. She already lied the
Great.
first time. What's the point?
That's Monday.
So what he's telling you is, my wife was a terrible mother, so they took the children away from me.
Right.
That's what he told you.
That's what he told me.
And you said, okay.
No, it wasn't exactly that simple. Just the stories he was telling me, he had me believing, because I think he believes, that it's almost like they're conspiring against him. And maybe I didn't know any better, maybe I didn't think about it until
That
it kind
who
of
was
hit
conspiring
home.
against him?
CPS
And their motive would be?
would be, I don't know. Whatever it would be.
Well, no,
I mean, I don't-
I'm trying to help you reason through this. So their motive would be some people that don't know him from Adam, that are just, they work for a government agency somewhere, single him out.
They don't like him
But why would they not like him?
because he is very opinionated, and I
How
guess
would
made
they
a
know
big.
that?
Because he was in court with them over a 4-year period all the time.
But why would he be in court with them?
For his kids. They were in their home, and then they were in foster home, then they were back in their home.
Why was he even on their radar?
Because obviously they were doing something wrong. I know.
So they're not conspiring against him. They're reacting to the fact that neighbors were calling and reporting the fact that these children were in harm's way.
Right.
So they didn't just go through the phone book and say, let's see, Jason, let's pick on this poor bastard.
Right.
Somebody put them on the radar screen. And then when he interacted with them, when they came to the house, when they called him, when they got involved, he was belligerent.
Right.
He's always belligerent.
So what we know is that he's telling you, CPS came and took my children away from me because my wife was a bad mother, and as a result, I was belligerent with them.
Right. He went in detail, the reasons, like what he told me was he was out on the road a lot, like I said before, and he wasn't there. And do I believe this now? No, that's why I have doubts. But I'm just telling you what he was telling me at the beginning, which was making me kind of...
That's what I'm trying to get in.
He wasn't making it a big deal, so therefore I wasn't making it a big deal.
Mm-hmm. And so he's just telling you that because he was on the road, he was not there to take care of the children, and so they were taken away because of negligence.
Right.
Okay. And he gave you the papers to read.
He did.
And I've read them. Did you?
Not all of them.
Okay. He gave them to you right away,
He did.
right when he moved in.
He did.
He told me you never saw those papers.
I never read those papers.
Okay, but
Okay.
I know right where you are. So he moves in, and he's got a box.
Pretty much.
And in the box are these papers from CPS and the court. Now, you've got 2 children in the home, and you're moving a man in. And he says, like you, I've got children. And the court has seen fit to terminate my rights. I don't have access to my children. The court's seen fit to say I can't be around my children. But I'm now going to be around yours. And here are the reasons they said I can't be around mine. Would you care to read these? And you said, nah.
No, that's not how it happened.
How did it happen?
We had sat down, and at the beginning, it doesn't talk about the sexual abuse and things like that. I mean, we're talking about a stack of papers that's like this thick. And I was reading through it, and I underlined stuff, trying to get him, because I was going to trying to help him get his kids back. As I was going through them, the weeks went by, and he wasn't willing to fight for his kids, so I pretty much, why am I putting all my time and effort into helping you fight for your kids? And I just never got to the sexual allegations. It just, for whatever reason.
Well, I have 98 pages of documents, and I read them in about 40 minutes. And I will admit that I'm a pretty fast reader, but in fact, I read them a number of times. And you said you read them across a number of days and you were underlining, but you never got to that part?
Well, you have the ones that I sent you from my lawyer. She sent me the whole discovery package. The papers that he has that was throughout the years, you couldn't read half of it. It was folded up, they were ripped up, they were,
Well, you...
Not making an excuse for it, but I just, for whatever reason, I didn't get to that part.
You had the papers from CPS and you had the papers from the court.
I did, or he did?
He gave you those papers.
He gave me the papers from court.
Right. And on page 18, it gets very interesting. Did you not make it that far?
I guess not. I mean, he will tell you that I didn't know about the sexual molestation. If I would have, he wouldn't have been in my house.
Did this man threaten to blow your house up and kill you?
More than once. And I fear for my daughter's life. He is a dangerous man.
And later, Jason requested to do a polygraph. This was not our idea, it was yours. You wanted to do this. And the results are...
Wednesday on an all-new Dr. Phill. He was a major league pitcher. Now his family says he's a drunk.
You've been self-medicating with alcohol because your dream got ripped from you.
I'm not a drunkard. This is that bottom of the ninth, man. You got to do this.
That's Wednesday.
You have to reason through some things. And I kind of made a short list of some red flags that I think you may have missed. First off, he was willing to move in within 2 weeks. Now, that may not seem like a big thing to you, but the fact that a man was willing to move in with you and your family within 2 weeks, I understand falling in love, but I don't know, does that strike you odd that...
It does, no.
Somebody, I mean, it's... And this is no reflection on you. I'm talking about anybody.
No, I understand.
I mean, it's kind of that old saying, I wouldn't join any club that would have me as a member. It's kind of like anybody that would want me to move in with them within 2 weeks would seem to be a bit indiscriminate to me. And so I would think either one of you, if a guy was willing to move in with you within 2 weeks, or a woman that would let a guy move in within 2 weeks, I would think both of you would be going, wait a minute. Isn't that kind of a low standard?
He just knew what to say, I guess. I mean...
But didn't you kind of think, he's only known me 2 weeks? I mean, like, what are you, anybody's dog that'll hunt with you? It's like...
I did think that, but I mean, I guess I was just blind.
Okay, but that's a red flag. Criminal history. He had a criminal history, right?
At that time, I didn't know. I didn't know when I first met him.
CBS documents, you have children. He's been found guilty of child neglect and sexual molestation.
I didn't know that when he moved in as well.
Of a boy and a girl.
That's correct.
And you have 2 boys. He did tell you that he kept a job that was interfering with his parenting, that kept him on the road 3 or 4 months at a time. And he kept that job that interfered with his parenting.
So he chose his job.
Yeah. He kept a job that interfered with his parenting. that he lost parental rights to 4 children. He had no access to his 4 children. A court had said, you can't be around these children. You knew that. He left 4 children alone with an alleged addict. I don't know if she was or not, but that's what he's alleged. And he says he was here knowing that they were with this person, and that was okay with him. Willing to get you pregnant with no stable home. You guys had no stable home. And now I'm going to talk to Mary, because these are 2 very important points, Mary. Did this man threaten to blow your house up and kill you?
More than once.
And you told this to her?
Yes.
I know that.
And I had him arrested.
So you put him in jail.
Right.
He threatened to kill you and blow your house up.
Right.
And you knew that. And did your daughter tell you that he grabbed her and choked her into unconsciousness in front of a mirror and made her watch?
Yes. And I asked her about it, and she told me it was true.
Is that true?
While I was pregnant.
Well, she was pregnant.
Okay, that was while you were pregnant. So you didn't know that before you got pregnant, but that did happen while you were pregnant. So I can't really hold that against you before you got pregnant, but it happened while you were pregnant. So those are some red flags.
It didn't take me long to notice them. I mean, to realize, just a few months, which was probably longer than it should have taken. But
okay, go ahead, Mary.
But then she was afraid to leave or couldn't leave because he's a manipulator. He threatened to put bad pictures of her on social media. He has threatened to kill her mother. He has threatened to hurt her. He's all about threats and games. And when she does try to leave him, it's over and over, phone calls over and over. And I'm talking thousands in a day's time. Threatening phone calls, text messages. And I want to know if he left 3 months at a time on a job kept interfering with parenting 3 to 4 months at a time. Why was he the one laying on the couch when CPS came to investigate about these kids?
because the CPS case got open while he was gone.
Well, then he should have been trying to clean it up instead of laying on the couch.
I agree. I was just answering your question.
He is a dangerous man. He is. And I fear for my daughter's life. I don't want him, and he will not be around my grandkids ever again, ever.
Well, here's his position. He says that he did not sexually molest his children, that those allegations were trumped up, that while there was a court finding against him, that he was never criminally charged.
That's correct.
That he was not convicted, that he's not a registered sex offender, and that while he was found guilty of those charges by the court, by clear and convincing evidence, that they never charged him criminally, that this was family court and they terminated his rights. And he says he did not do that. And he's here today to clear his name. You move a man into your house after 2 weeks.
Jason never abused my children, though.
And later, you say that these allegations are absolutely false with regard to the sexual molestation.
Absolutely.
Why do you suppose your children would say that?
I believe they were bribed.
You decided to get pregnant with him. Did you do that on purpose?
We did talk about it, yes.
So the 2 of you decided to have a child,
Yes.
even though you knew a lot of this information.
Well, and can I explain why? Why when we were talking about it? Because I feel like a lot of his anger, a lot of his issues come from the fact, because he's so hell-bent on, I'm telling the truth, that, maybe it would make him a better person or make him, not be so hard on me if he was to be able to have a family again. I understand now that that wasn't the right decision.
So you thought you would put a baby poultice on him, and that would heal
I
him
could
up?
give that to
I
him.
think he was trying to put it on her. He thought if she had a baby by him.
No, it's
that
not.
was
I'm
another-
trying to tell,
Okay.
and it's not. It wasn't him. I'm not going to put something on that's not him. We had talked about it. Honestly, I thought that, and it did. I mean, right before I had the baby, he had changed. Him and my mom were like peas and carrots.
I wouldn't say peas and carrots.
You told him how proud of him you
I
was
was very
almost
proud
every
of
day.
the last 3 months before you had that baby. But then again, okay, the last words he said to me when he left the hospital, when I dropped him off that night, was, please take care of the baby and Christina. Okay? That's what I was trying to do. And the first time he gets ticked off about anything, he's right back to the same old
And
phone
tell them
calls.
why. Because you promised him, standing in the kitchen cooking, Jason, I promise, let's just get through this. Everything's going to be okay. And the first time that CPS worker came to our house and told you what he told you, from that moment on, you have not given him a chance.
Absolutely,
at all.
I did not, because then I saw the proof.
No,
I saw, yes, I did.
That doesn't mean it's the proof,
And the thing
though,
of
Mother.
it is he started right back with the same phone calls, the
Because
same
he felt
over
betrayed.
and over
Because
and over again.
He doesn't have
didn't feel
anybody to count on.
betrayed.
I don't have anybody to count on.
You don't have anybody to count on?
No.
I am there for you every single day, and I always have been.
Mom, I understand your intentions are good and you mean well, but you're not always there for me.
You shouldn't need somebody to be there for
I
you
understand
all
I
the time.
shouldn't need, but I just had
You're
a baby.
a grown woman.
This is what I'm going through, and it's not about you. It is about Jason half the time.
It's not
and
all
it's
about me. It's nothing about me, except for it's about my grandkids.
I understand, but
So
your
that makes it about
grandkids need
me.
you well. They need you as well.
And I'm there for my grandkids. I've been 3 weeks in Ohio working because I've got to make some money. I've got to be able to pay bills. That's the only way I can do it, Christina.
Okay, listen, I'd be happy to chat with y'all about y'all's relationship at some point, but I frankly agreed to do this story out of the thousands that I have to make decisions on because of the children.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I'm happy to talk to y'all about this some other time, but I agreed to do this because there are children in the crossfire here.
Right.
And you moved him in after 2 weeks with 2 children in the house. And there are some very startling statistics about the risk of children in the home when non-biological males are in the home. And you need to take a look. The abuse risk is 14 times higher when there's only a biological mother in the home. It's 20 times higher when only a biological father are in the home. Look at the bottom. When there's a biological mother living with a man, the risk of the child being abused is 33 times higher. You move a man into your house after 2 weeks, you just need to know the risk of children being abused with a non-biological male moving into the house with a mother is 33 times higher than normal.
I understand that. Jason never abused my children, though. I understand you're saying that it's higher that they, could get abused, but just the signs weren't there, I guess.
Okay, I'm just telling you the statistics because I want you and everybody at home to know that there are certain configurations in the home that are higher risk than others. Christina has said he is the love of her life. Mary thinks he's guilty of the unthinkable. So coming up, we're going to meet Jason. He's here. Will he tell me the truth about how he lost all of his children? Well, we're going to find out because I want to talk to him when we come back.
Last day I saw my new baby was the day he was born. The happiest and saddest day of my life. I absolutely did not molest my children. I've never been charged criminally for sexual abuse. It tells me that I'm innocent. They have no proof. I absolutely believe I've been railroaded.
Monday on an all-new Dr. Phill. These battling exes are back.
You said you couldn't take the polygraph last time.
Can I say something about that?
No, Joe, no, you may not. Stop.
Did you say he passed the test because he cheated?
It was more like, did you? It wasn't, I didn't.
So the answer is yes.
Your neighbor is here.
I don't care to see her or talk to her. No, that's not fair to me.
You'll at least hear what she says
I don't
on
care to
tape.
hear it. She already lied the first time. What's the point?
That's Monday.
Jason has been accused of sexually molesting his daughter and his son. Jason told me he had taken a lie detector test in the past. He failed them, but he told me that the tests were rigged so that he would fail. I am very conflicted about Jason, whether I want him to be around me or my kids. If he did this, I will walk away from him and he needs to be in jail.
Christina says Jason, the father of her newborn, is forbidden from having any contact with her son because of CPS findings that he sexually abused and neglected his children from a previous marriage. Now, Jason says the findings are completely false as to the sexual molestation, and he's here to prove his innocence.
CPS took away my kids because they claimed that they were being neglected. I neglected my kids by not spending enough time with them. I'm into that. Because of the neglect, my kids were placed in a foster home. CPS made a mistake placing them. Instead of taking the responsibility, they blame me. That's when the sexual allegations came forward against me. Christina knew that there were sexual allegations against me. I don't know if she's lying or if she doesn't remember, but I did show her the paperwork from CPS. She said the allegations that she read were sickening and she could not stand to read anymore. I absolutely did not molest my children. I never touched my kids inappropriately. I believe that the children were brainwashed and bribed to say those things. I was very excited when we found out Christina was pregnant. I did not know that CPS was going to remove the child if I had another child with another woman. If they claim they told me, that is a lie. Even though my children were taken away by CPS, I've never been charged criminally for sexual abuse. It tells me that I'm innocent. They have no proof. I absolutely believe I've been railroaded. Last day I saw my new baby was the day he was born. The happiest and saddest day of my life. I am here to clear my name. My dream is to be with Christina, to have all my children and her children together.
Okay, Jason, I'm glad you're here because we want to talk about all of this, and you say that these allegations against you are, with regard to your other children, are absolutely false with regard to the sexual molestation.
Absolutely.
You admit the neglect.
Yes.
But so far as the sexual molestation, which was very specific from a daughter and a son, you say absolutely did not happen.
No, it did not.
Well, but why do you suppose your children would say it? Do you doubt that they said it, or do you think they were...
I don't doubt they said it. I believe they were bribed. I believe that they were told to say it, just for benefit of the state.
What would be the state's motive in getting children to say such a thing?
That I'm really not too sure about, other than the fact I do have good children. They knew it. They were mad because I did not divorce my ex-wife and come off the road.
They had plenty of ammunition with regard to the neglect, because she was certainly found to be negligent with the children. Yeah. When they made visits to the home, neighbors had called and said that young child was outside alone without supervision. They reported they came to the door, knocking on the door. They couldn't arouse you, couldn't get you to come to the door. You're passed out in the recliner. They couldn't arouse you for a long time. They finally get you. Said another child was outside, got in a van, closed the door, was in there. They were afraid the child was going to get overheated inside the van, could die. And a neighbor reported that. They had all of these allegations with witnesses. They didn't need any more ammunition against you. Why would they make up more stuff? They had plenty to move on. Those are all actionable.
Yeah. I went through the improvement period to show them to get the resources, become a better dad for the state, to have the anger management classes down to a parenting class.
Well, I read in the court papers that the resources that were offered, that neither you nor your wife would cooperate with the reunification program, that you did not participate, and that it got to the point where they said there's no point in offering these people resources because they simply won't avail themselves of it, and there's no way to reunify this family.
Not true.
That's a court record.
I understand.
Well, you read it, right?
Yeah, I probably did. With the paperwork I read, sir, I just kind of just let it go because it's not true.
Well, y'all just go through this paperwork like it's nothing. But it's a public record in the court finding when your parental rights were terminated that said neither you nor your wife would participate in using the resources offered by the court, and therefore reunification was absolutely pointless.
Well, then why can I remember every counselor, every class, the times it was, the times I had to take off work?
So you did 136 days for a crime you didn't commit. You had your rights to your children terminated for molestation you didn't do.
I know I'd never touched my children.
If you are going to be in the Los Angeles area and you would like free tickets, go to drphil.com and click on Be in the Audience.
Or you can call 323-461-PHIL. That's 323-461-7445. Were you confrontational in court?
Yes.
And you knew that this wasn't a custody issue. You knew that your parental rights had been terminated, correct?
By word of mouth. I've never signed a piece of paper or seen one.
You never saw the finding that by clear and convincing evidence, the court had found that you had been neglectful of your children and sexually molested your children, and that by a finding of clear and convincing evidence that the court had deemed that that had occurred, and as a result, your parental rights had been terminated forevermore.
Yes, after this court case, this last recent court case with the new child, yes.
That was the first time you read that?
That was the first time I read those.
Were you there when they had that finding of the original court?
Nope.
You didn't show up when they were making
told,
an adjudication on your right as a parent for your 4 children?
I was at 145 miles an hour heading back. My lawyer called me and said, they've already taken your rights. They switched the court date on me.
So you didn't, you weren't there when they were adjudicating your rights as a parent?
I was out of town. What the court date was not supposed to be for another 3 days.
Were you shocked in the hospital when they came in and said you had to leave?
Yes.
So they never told you that if you had another baby that it would be taken away?
No.
They didn't tell you that you were not eligible to have children?
They have never told me that I couldn't have a child with another woman, that I would lose my rights automatically. They never said anything in paperwork or anything. So.
Because in the paperwork, it says that you were instructed that you were not eligible as a parent because you hadn't done the remedial work, that if you had another child, that you would be barred from having that child.
They kept that paperwork from me. I tried to get it when I was getting a divorce with my ex-wife, and it didn't exist then.
You spent 136 days in jail for writing a bad check.
Yes, sir.
But you said you didn't write that bad check.
Yeah, I wrote it. I wrote what I said.
You told us you didn't write it. You said somebody else wrote it on your account.
Right. They wrote it on my account while I was in jail.
For something else?
Yeah.
What were you in for then?
No, it was for fraudulent schemes, what it was, for writing bad checks. And he wrote it, or my friend wrote a bad check while I was incarcerated, so. They said that we know you didn't write this one, so you're out of here.
What'd you do 136 days for?
For writing a bad check, but it wasn't for It wasn't for the amount that they initially charged me with.
But did you do 136 days for a check you didn't write?
Yes.
It was for one somebody else wrote.
Yes.
So you did 136 days for a crime you didn't commit, and you had your children, your rights to your children terminated for molestation you didn't do.
I know I never touched my children sexually, never involved in anything that had to do with that. And
did you attack her in front of a mirror and choke her to unconsciousness while she watched?
No, there was no unconsciousness.
I know how toxic their relationship is.
I see what this has done.
What, so now we're setting you up?
No.
Ready to get real? Go to drphil.com for advice on relationships, parenting, finances, and more. Plus, weigh in on your favorite episodes, share your stories, and find support in the Dr. Phil community. When you sign up for the community, you will automatically be subscribed to the Dr. Phil Show newsletter. Log on to drphil.com today. Well, we're out of time today. Now, before the break, you heard me ask Jason if he choked Christina unconscious in front of a mirror. You won't believe how he answers that pivotal question. Plus, Jason took a polygraph exam. Did he have inappropriate sexual contact with his daughter?
Tomorrow, he's the father of her baby.
You did choke her while she was pregnant.
You can call it that, yes.
He wasn't like that at the beginning.
We're not at the beginning.
Will she leave him?
Every time I try to walk away from Jason, he threatens to do whatever he's got to do to get my kids taken away from me.
Have you threatened to blow her mother's house up?
Yes.
Have you threatened to kill her mother?
Yes.
But his own kids
I neglected my children. I never did anything sexually with them.
made shocking accusations.
And the child talked about being touched.
I need to know the truth so that I can decide whether I want him in our life.
Is he innocent?
He did take a polygraph.
Her trust in him
I love Jason.
is put to the test.
And the results are...
That's tomorrow.
We will reveal the results tomorrow. You will not want to miss that. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Thanks, guys. See you. Bye-bye. See you. Thanks. Bye-bye. See you guys.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil,
My dad sending money to a woman in Mexico that he had an affair with.
he steals from family, friends, and strangers.
Nearly $2 million.
She had to have a lung transplant.
You paid for the lung. So she just showed up to a clinic with a lung in an igloo cooler, said, I'm here to get a transplant. She's had brain cancer 5 times?
7 times.
You think maybe she's lied to you? Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
I'll try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Death threats from Mexican businessmen, black market organs for sale, tens of thousands of dollars in extortion money paid, and more than 100 trips back and forth to Mexico. It's an unbelievable story that has this sweet-looking grandpa trapped in what his daughters believe is an outrageous international scam. So who's the alleged mastermind behind this multi-million-dollar mystery? Well, according to Maurice's daughters, it's his former Mexican mistress. Take a look.
My dad sending money to a woman in Mexico that he had an affair with. He has sent her over $1.5 million.
My dad is obsessed with Josefina.
An extreme obsession.
He met her at a hotel that he was staying at.
She was the maid there. It just blows my mind.
I have never met her. I have never spoken with her.
My dad said that because he only had sex with her twice, it is not an affair.
We believe Josephina is conning our dad, absolutely.
Josefina has told my father many times that she's dying.
I believe Josefina is truly sick. She may not live. It's a matter of life and death.
So she started by asking my dad for money for a lung transplant. Then the lung apparently didn't take. Then she stored that lung to then resell it to someone else. That's totally black market. So clearly she's a criminal.
The long story is preposterous. We have told my father how it's not even medically possible.
Then she traded that lung to get ownership of a ranch.
She's told my dad that she's eventually going to sell and then pay him back.
She promised a huge payout.
There's no doubt in my mind that she's telling me the truth.
This whole situation is just shocking and bizarre.
My dad believes that he is saving Josephina's life.
My dad hasn't seen her for at least 13 years.
My dad hasn't even spoken to a doctor or seen her medical bills.
She hooked him somehow.
I think she is holding something over him.
I look at her as the scum of the earth.
This awful woman that just is mocking my father.
I want Josefina out of his life.
She's ruined his life. She's ruined our lives.
This woman has torn our family apart.
Well, but now Maurice's daughters insist their father has gone from being conned to being a con man himself. They say he's lying, stealing, and taking money from innocent people to give to this former lover.
My father has preyed on a lot of innocent people.
His whole life is consumed by getting this woman money.
My dad would tell them that he needed the money to help this dying woman in Mexico.
He just finds those perfect victims.
My father is a manipulator.
He's a thief. My dad has financially ruined so many people's lives.
Destroyed some marriages, torn families apart.
I talked to a man my dad owed $20,000 to. He had taken out a personal loan. And his wife has Alzheimer's. He said that he doesn't have money to pay for her medical care.
There was one family from church that gave my dad their entire life savings.
Someone from my sister's church confronted her and said, if I met your dad in a back alley, I can't promise what would happen to him. And at least 10 people had confessed to him that they had given him money as well.
He's violated such an intimate trust there.
I feel terrible when I hear the stories. I wish I had the money to pay these people back.
I don't want him to hurt one more person.
Well, this is just a hell of a mess, right? Yeah, well, it gets worse. Because this dad has 7 children, and they claim that he has also victimized them.
My dad doesn't just prey on innocent people. He has preyed upon his own family.
He took money from me and each of my sisters.
One of my sisters gave my dad $40,000. He called her and said that literally if that money was not wired to him immediately, that he would be killed.
He has gone to a few of my sisters telling them I'll be arrested or some men in Mexico are going to come after me.
I had a business with my sister and my dad. My dad was able to steal $200,000.
Because my name was on the business and my sister's name was on the business, we went down with him.
He's destroyed their credit. They lost their homes. They lost their cars.
I went into a deep, dark depression. It's a place you kind of never want to go.
At the time, it was heartbreaking. It was the greatest betrayal.
Now my mom is packing up her home because my parents' house is in foreclosure. Just need a minute. My dad has broken our family.
My dad has no shame.
He literally does not care about any of us.
Okay. You were in business together.
Yeah, I probably suffered the most financially, yeah.
Just bottom line, how much do you think he stole from you, just straight up?
That I know of is about $200,000. You know, we lost a house, lost a car.
Take me through the moment that you realized my father has stolen my money and given it to some woman in Mexico to the point that I am losing my home. That's the moment I want to go through.
Yeah, I mean,
what happened?
like rage and anger and how could you possibly do this and think it was okay? But the thing is, you can't, there was no reasoning.
And you've not spoken to him in 2 years.
Right. People were coming to us saying he owed them money. We didn't know what it was about. And we knew there was just more to this story, and so we kind of stormed into his house and told him it's time to come clean. He came clean about some of it, as much as he was willing to, and told us about, you know, this woman, this money that he'd given to her. That was the point when I said, you know what, this is it. That was 2 years ago, and that was the last time I spoke to my father.
Karina, you had his phone for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
What happened when you had his phone?
All day long, there's phone calls, text messages, asking where's my money.
Which one of you got the death threat against your father for $40,000?
She's not here.
She's not here. And he actually called her and told her that she didn't personally get the death threat, but he called her and told her.
Then he'll have this fear in his eyes,
Yeah,
like,
and
if I don't get this money, something bad is going to happen to me, you know, and you don't want to fall for it, but you don't want your dad to be killed.
Right.
I mean, he pulls out all the stops.
By the way, he's married to your mother.
Right.
And she's now losing her house.
Right.
Because he's giving money to this woman.
Right.
Next 19 years of secrets, 2 Mexican mistresses, and nearly $2 million just handed away. Why did Maurice's wife continue to turn a blind eye to her husband's secret life south of the border? Well, I'm going to ask her. She's here. We're going to add her to the conversation after the break.
He has become a pathological liar. He is dishonest to the very core. The day that I found out that my husband Maurice had an affair with this woman, my whole world was turned upside down. She has conned him. How anybody can be at death's door for 13 years. She is such a medical miracle.
And later, you believe this woman just showed up at a clinic with a lung in an igloo cooler or something and said, I need a lung transplant, and I got the lung.
That's basically what happened.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phill. Torn between her city husband and her country boyfriend.
You had an affair and convinced him you were the victim.
I didn't do it on purpose.
The 2 men meet for the first time.
Julie, sit wherever you feel like you should.
Will she choose her boyfriend?
You were taking your child to go see your lover.
Or her husband?
What gives you the right to be with this man's wife?
Then on Thursday, exclusive, the secret audio tapes of former Subway spokesman Jared Fogle.
I had this little boy. It was amazing. It just felt so good. I mean, it felt so good.
Only on Dr. Phill, Thursday.
I think my mom looked the other way for many years as far as my dad's behavior.
My mother is enabling him by turning a blind eye.
My mom tends to bury her head in the sand and pretend that nothing bad is happening.
We had an intervention a couple years ago and told my mom, if you don't leave him, then we will walk away from you for a while.
I honestly don't know why she has stayed.
Well, secret phone calls in Spanish and hundreds of trips over the border. Maurice's double life has his 7 daughters convinced that a bizarre scam concocted by his former mistress has turned their father into a con man and their mother into his protector and enabler. Now, before we speak with the matriarch of this beautiful family, let's hear what she has to say about her partner of nearly 50 years.
My husband Maurice has torn apart my family. My children have just been absolutely devastated. He has used them over and over. My daughters all feel like they've lost their father. Their hearts have been broken. He has become a pathological liar. He is dishonest to the very core of his being. That's really hard and sad for me to say that. My utilities have been turned off. My internet gets turned off. Frequently, my phone gets turned off. The day that I found out that he had an affair with this woman, my whole world was turned upside down and inside out. I felt worthless. I felt like a failure. This is someone I trusted with my entire life. I have absolutely no doubt she has conned him. If I saw her, I probably would scratch her eyes out. How anybody can be at death's door for 13 years. She is such a medical miracle. If she's really ill, let her die.
I'm glad to meet you, and I'm really sorry for the circumstance. I'm just so sorry. I hate it for you. This has been going on for 19 years, right? You now know.
Apparently,
Well,
yeah.
you did know that then, of course, but you know it now.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this?
Devastated, angry at myself, angry at my husband, at this woman.
Along the way, he also had another woman, right?
Yes.
And that's when you found out that he has a daughter.
Yes.
Y'all have a half-sister.
Yeah. Yes.
In Mexico. Did you know about that at all? Were you?
Not until 2 years ago.
You had to be shocked.
Oh, yes, I was.
What did you say to him when you found out he was shipping money off to this woman? Let's go back to the other woman, the one that's got the revolving lungs. And what did he tell you about it?
She had to have a lung transplant.
Okay, so she got a lung.
Yes.
And where'd she get the lung?
And he paid for it. I'm assuming
he bought her a lung.
On the black market, I'm assuming.
It didn't take.
So they took it out and they put in another lung.
Okay.
But they kept the first one.
Where did they keep it?
In some kind of machine. In Mexico, they have the ability to keep organs alive.
That's what we're told.
And so then that lung was put into another woman, and her husband paid for it with a ranch.
So it's like a swap meet.
Yes.
So we'll give you a ranch for this lung.
Yeah.
But it worked for the second woman.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, but now, so she has the ranch, so they need to sell the ranch to pay for the lung.
Right.
You know what's wrong with you people? Seriously, you know what's wrong with you people?
What?
Absolutely nothing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you people. That's the problem. Right. All five of you are normal, healthy, loving, caring, adjusted people. Your mind can't go to the places that sick, demented people's mind go, so it's hard to see that coming. Because your mother, you've been put out of your house because of this. You're now going to be put out of your house, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And what are you going to do?
Well, I'm going to have to go find a job in a small apartment and go on with life.
And kind of start over making your own
Yes.
way. Let's take a break. Next, trading a lung for a ranch, selling organs on the black market, and being held hostage in a south of the border hospital. Maurice insists that his former mistress, Josefina, is on death's door. Apparently for a long time she's been on death's door. He says he needed all of the money he took from friends, family, and even a stranger at a gas station in order to save her life. Boy, do I have some questions for dear old Dad. Well, he's here, and we're going to meet him next. We'll add him to the conversation right after the break. So she just showed up lung in hand to a clinic, said, I'm here to get a transplant, and I've got my lung with me. And later...
She doesn't have money, so she's not actually in a hospital room.
Well, she doesn't need it. She can
I
get
know,
health
I'm
care.
just saying,
They
she's
have
on like the back
universal healthcare.
patio.
Is that outdoors?
Yeah, that's outdoors.
She's just sleeping next to the hospital.
I am very in love with Kit Moore.
She's already married.
She wanted a divorce.
But obsessed with a country star.
He signed your back?
I got it tattooed.
You're serving your husband with a restraining order, and you've got "Marry Me, Kit Moore" painted on your window? What are you, 12?
Is his daughter's survivalist boyfriend
Did he kidnap your daughter?
He did. No.
a threat to his family?
She asked me to come get her.
You're lying.
I'm lying? Why don't you shut the hell up? I'm not going to shut my mouth. If I didn't think I'd go to jail for it, I would go across this 3 feet of floor right here, and I'd take his damn head off.
This November. Then on Thursday, the former Subway sandwich king.
He told me how he would get children.
How to gain their trust.
The secret tapes that catch him talking about child sex.
I had this little boy. This was amazing.
No one has heard this.
It just felt so good. I felt
Until now.
Sometimes you learn the most. The young girls or the young boys?
Both of them do. Both of them.
Only on Dr. Phill. Thursday.
Nearly $2 million gone and multiple families desperate for answers and their hard-earned money back. Where did all the money go? Now, to my guest, Maurice's former mistress in Mexico, who his family believes is conning their dad into believing that she is dying, and her only hope of survival is him paying for the life-saving medical care she needs. Now, Maurice disagrees and insists that she is sick and he will get his money back. Take a look.
I met Josefina nearly 18 years ago in Mexico. I had a 3-month affair with her. I'd already had an affair with another woman. I didn't think it was a big deal. 3 or 4 months after I came back to the United States, she told me that she had lung cancer. She said she needed a transplant. That's how it all started. I've been sending her money to keep her alive. I haven't seen her in 13 years. She promised that she would return all the money. I borrowed my money from my children. I said I was going to pay them back with interest. I did steal $200,000 from my daughter, Elaine. Josefina needs $675 to get out of the clinic. If she could just get out, she would reimburse everybody. It'd be foolish to stop now.
Now, before we add Maurice to the conversation, I wanted to ask all of you at home on Twitter if you believe Maurice is being taken advantage of. Tweet hashtag Dr. Phill yes or hashtag Dr. Phill no. And if you want to join today's conversation, just tweet hashtag Dr. Phill, hashtag money to mistress, and you can join this conversation. So Maurice, come on out. Maurice, Dr. Phill.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, sir. Have a seat if you would.
Thank you.
Maurice, I'll just jump right into it. I've been here talking with 4 of your beautiful daughters and your wife, Linda. They feel lied to. They feel betrayed, that you have stolen money from them to the point that she's lost her home. She's losing her home. Do you deny that, or is that true?
I think that happened.
I want to see if I understand the timeline of this right. So in 1996, Maurice and Josefina meet, and you begin a 3-month affair in Mexico. And in 2000, Josefina calls Maurice and says she has lung cancer and needs a transplant. Why call you 4 years later and say, I need a lung transplant?
Well, because she didn't have anybody to go to.
Where'd you get the lung?
She went down to Veracruz to receive that lung, and
on the black market?
Yes.
So you paid for acquiring the lung. So she just showed up lung in hand to a clinic, said, I'm here to get a transplant, and I've got my lung with me.
Yeah, that's basically what happened.
You believe this woman just showed up at a clinic with a lung in an igloo cooler or something and said, I need a lung transplant, and I got the lung, and this clinic just had a transplant team just happened to be standing by in Mazatlan?
No, the doctor was the one that put the whole thing together.
Shockingly, it didn't take. So Josefina decides to store the lung.
She stored it for about 2 weeks.
Like at the house?
No, not at the house.
Where'd she store it?
At the clinic right there, and that's what happened.
And then she finds another lung, and you help her pay for the second lung and transplant. So she says, okay, now I got an extra lung.
Yeah.
So she sells it.
Right.
So that's when they swap the ranch.
Yeah.
So don't have the cash.
Yeah.
But I've got a ranch I'll trade you for. The ranch worth $1 million.
That's right.
But despite the new lungs, she's too sick to sell the ranch.
Well, she was too sick to do right immediately, yeah.
She's also had brain cancer?
Yes.
5 times?
7 times.
7 times. 7 brain cancers.
She survived that.
And then in 2002, the lung recipient died.
Mm-hmm. She gave it back to her.
Josefina sells the lung on the black market for $2.7 million.
2.2.
2.2 million bucks. But she says she can't pay you back.
She got the money, and the money went into a bank, and it's there frozen.
Why is it frozen?
Because of the amount of money. It's too much money.
I didn't know you could have too much money. She has too much money. You have a computer, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever check on these sort of things?
Yeah.
Because just before I walked over this morning, I just thought, you know what? I think I'll just Google up and see what a lung costs on the black market.
And what'd you find?
In China, you can get one for an average of about $23,000. In Europe, it was even less. In Mexico, they didn't really have much of a selection.
Yeah, I know.
I even looked on eBay. And they just didn't have anything. Maurice's family says he doesn't even remember the names of people they claim he's victimized. Well, but I have a list, and we're going to see what his thoughts and feelings are about this. We'll be right back. This wasn't the only relationship you had in Mexico, right?
No.
Do you have a second family?
It was a miserable time in our family.
It hurt. It wasn't fun to realize that.
Embarrassed, mad, just disappointed.
When we found out that my mom knew, it felt like an enormous betrayal.
This wasn't the only relationship you had in Mexico, right?
No.
Do you have a second family in Mexico?
I've got one in Ensenada.
A daughter?
19-year-old.
And did you raise her?
No.
Have you been supporting her?
Yeah.
So you've been paying money there and to Josefina?
Yeah. I decided that 2 weeks ago I was going to cut it off completely and not have any contact with him.
But that's, I mean, that's not entirely true.
We took his phone
so he couldn't call her. Yeah. And he actually left my house twice trying to go call her, like walk to a gas station.
I went to the bank to get the money that had come in.
And what were you going to do with that money?
Well, I was going to give it to my wife.
No, that's not true
you
at all.
weren't.
No, that's not true at all. I had to have him hand it over to me so I could count it, and he was not going to give any of it to my mother.
Look, if we have any hope here, one thing we got to do is be just completely honest. I mean, at this point, what the hell? Yeah. I mean, you got a second family in Mexico. You shipped nearly $2 million to Josefina. Wasn't your theory that they weren't going to let her out of the hospital if she didn't pay him some money?
Yeah.
You know what she told you?
Yeah.
So in Mexico, you don't pay, you don't go.
That's right.
So they keep you there.
That's right. They keep you there.
So you needed to give her money so she could get out.
That's what happened.
You do know that Mexico has universal health care, right? So she's got you and the government paying for her to go to the hospital.
Well, and she's not even actually going to have a room.
Pardon me?
She doesn't check in because she doesn't have money, so she's not actually in a hospital room.
Well, she doesn't need it. She
I know.
health
I'm
care.
just saying
They
she's
have
on like the
universal
back
health care.
patio. This is the story.
This is the story. She's like not even in an actual room, so we can't call her to find out what room number she's in. She's out in a separate area of people who can't pay. I mean, this is how ridiculous it is. But he just makes up
reason with him.
I mean, you can't reason with
She's
him.
in a patio room?
Yes, literally.
Is that?
No, she's behind the clinic.
Is that outdoors?
Yeah, that's outdoors. In a patio.
So patio.
And it's cold, and she has no sweater or shoes because she's so poor.
So she's at a hospital.
Not in the hospital.
But not in the hospital. She's just sleeping next to the hospital.
Well, yeah, because the back end is enclosed. She's able to stay right there with the hope of getting the money.
And he believes this.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
That's
like,
what's
what do you do with that?
Anything she...
Okay, well, this is just an example of one money transfer service that Maurice has used to pay for this kind of explanation. It sent anywhere between $150 and $990 nearly every day for the entire year. The money transfers from just this company totaled $105,134.01. That's just from one company.
Right.
So where does he get all of this money? Well, I made a chart. This is just according to Maurice, and I'm not even sure he knows for sure. He has taken his family for $500,000. He's taken $500,000 of his own money out of his account with he and his wife. He's gotten $3,500 from one guy, $2,700 from another, $3,000 this guy, an investor, $100,000. Mexican businessman, $40 grand, $2,700 to Greg, $20,000 to a friend, $12,000 from a church member, $40,000 from another church member, $60,000 from a friend, 5 strangers totaling $300,000. Another stranger for $500. This was the one at the gas station, I think. Church elder, undisclosed amount. 6 church members. All of this, and when it's all added up, that totals to $1,464,400. And that's just what we've been told.
Right, right.
There's no question that's not the bottom.
Right. No.
It is not in the realm of possibility.
Do you believe what he's telling you?
Well, I don't believe it.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phill, torn between her husband and her childhood crush.
You had an affair and convinced him you were the victim.
I didn't do it on purpose.
No, come on.
That's tomorrow.
Joining us now is Dr. Pat Basu. He is the Chief Medical Officer of Doctor On Demand, which is the company that Jay and I have that you've heard us talk about. Now, Dr. Basu has served as a White House Fellow. Prior to that, he served as Course Director of Health, Policy, and Economics at Stanford University. You've been listening to everything. What do you think of Josefina's claims when it comes to all of this lung manipulation? I mean, is this even remotely possible?
It's not possible at all.
Step up here, because I want to be sure that he can hear you clearly and concisely. You just take my chair here.
Sure.
Just take my chair so you can speak directly to Maurice, if you would. Maurice, this is Dr. Pat Basu.
Nice to meet you.
So, is it possible what she's telling him is true?
There is no way this story is possible. And I should maybe just clear something up, because there's this talk about the black market, which does exist. But even in that case, it is not just a box of old organs that's lying around. There is no sort of black market box where they just sit there. Whether it's legal or the black market, that transplant has to be done in this very small window, or the lung itself will perish.
Okay, so what is the chance that she could go to Veracruz, get this lung, bring it back up to some clinic, some doctor does the transfer, it doesn't take, so she takes it out, puts another one in, saves this one for 3 weeks in a cooler or something at the clinic where they keep spare body parts, apparently, for 3 weeks, and then sell it again to some, or swap it for a ranch or whatever. What's the chance of that happening 3 weeks later?
Yeah, Maurice, I just have to tell you, the chance of that is 0. There is no single aspect of that story is possible, let alone the entire chain of events. It is just entirely not possible in any universe.
Do you believe what he's telling you?
Well, I don't believe it.
You don't believe which?
I don't believe what he's saying. It happens down in Mexico, and it's...
Yeah, you cannot revive the lung once it is dead. There is a window of 6 hours And even in that window, by the time it's getting there, the lung is literally perishing. It cannot be revived. It cannot be reused in that capacity at all.
Well, I don't know how that happens then.
Well, it doesn't.
Huh?
It doesn't.
It doesn't happen.
It does. I do know that the lung was 3 months in a container.
Okay, and so you think because she said that the laws of physics, the laws of science, the laws of medicine are suspended because of what she said. It just becomes true for her, but not for anybody else.
Well, I know that the lung was for 3 months until it was transferred.
The lung was outside the body for 3 months and then put back in.
It's in a container. They have some type of solution in Mexico. And they have, I know, doctor, I know.
Yeah.
This doesn't even make you think maybe she's lied to you?
No.
Okay. All right, listen, that's very important for me to hear. That's very important for me to hear. It helps me, that informs me to help inform you. Okay, next, there is one key person missing from this conversation. That's Josefina herself. I'm going to ask Maurice to give her a call after the break. Let's see if she answers from the back porch of the hospital. We'll be right back. We'll now dial the international number, and I would like to ask her a few questions if you could translate for me.
Do you need Dr. Phil's help? Text Phill to 88500 and share your story for a chance to appear on the show. Standard message and data rates may apply.
If you are going to be in the Los Angeles area and you would like free tickets, go to drphil.com and click on Be in the Audience.
Or you can call 323-461-PHIL. We've talked a lot about Josefina, Maurice's former mistress. So I think it's time to try and add her to the conversation. So we are going to call her cell phone. We'll now dial the international number, and I would like to ask her a few questions too, if you could translate for me.
Después del tono, grabe su mensaje. Marque la tecla gato cuando termine.
It was a message that said, you know,
go through.
Yeah.
We'll just keep trying while we keep talking. So you don't believe Dr. Basu? We actually hired a private investigator in Mexico to learn a little bit more about Josefina, because you say she's just all alone and nobody to call but you, and you say you're helping her because she has no family. Well, actually, the private investigator did find her, and they found that her parents are still very much alive, that she has multiple siblings, and in fact, the phone that she talks to you on is actually billed to her sister, and at the same address.
I don't believe it.
He was also able to find information about Josefina's ranch. There's no property in her name at all. No ranches even located in that area in anybody's name. So the ranch she says that she's traded for is not in her name, is not in anybody else's name, and where she says the ranch exists, there are no ranches in that area at all, period, zip, zero, nada, yet no ranches.
Well, I don't know where you're getting your information.
Because yours is so reliable, right, Dad?
I mean, you can get on an airplane, you can go down there and find out. We got the address. We walk you right up the front door and knock. You can go to this hospital, room 103. She is not there. She is not there. That was actually inside the hospital. It wasn't on the patio. It's inside the hospital. Ranch. No ranch.
No, she was only
doesn't exist. Lungs that live for more than 6 hours. Nowhere on the globe does that happen, ever, period. These are facts. These are not opinions. These are not matters of, I see it one way and you see it another, tomato, potato, potato. These are facts. How many doctors do I need to line up to tell you you can't keep a lung alive for more than 4 to 6 hours?
I don't know, because, you know, that lung is alive for 3 months. Yeah.
Okay, next, where do Maurice and his family go from here? Well, I'm going to tell all of these women what I think needs to happen after the break. Want to know what's coming up on Dr. Phil? Visit our website and subscribe to our email newsletter. You'll get weekly updates, life strategies, and exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else.
Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today.
Before we go on, earlier in the show, I asked my Twitter followers if they believe Maurice is being taken advantage of, and the results are in. 54% say yes, 46% say no. I'll tell you why I think it's 50-50, because they're focusing on him as being a perpetrator of all of you and all of these innocent people we had up here, as much as they are of him being a victim by her. I'm going to talk about you like you're not here for a minute, okay?
Go ahead.
And I mean, no disrespect, but I have to be candid about this. I've not evaluated your father long-term or historically. All I can tell you is where I see him now. And, you know, I spent a lot of time doing this kind of thing back when I had a real job and was in private practice. Part of my training was in forensic psychology, where I was often worked as an officer of the court to make determinations of sanity, person's ability to conduct their own affairs, things of that nature. It's obvious that he has constructed a delusional system here. And when you try to crack the delusional system, the walls come up. And at that point, this person is not able to separate fantasy and reality. Okay? So those lines are blurred. I think you can go to any court in the land and get a conservatorship appointed. So he cannot get himself bankrupt, so he cannot get himself exploited further, so he cannot conduct business and take other people's money. The first thing I would like to do is offer Maurice a chance to go and have himself evaluated at the Lawless PvP Center in Dallas, to have him really looked at and see if there are neurological issues here, if there are psychological issues here that have him caught in a loop that he just can't get out of, and see if we can maybe do some things diagnostically and break that up for him. And also joining us is my really good friend, Miles Adcox. He is the owner and CEO of Onsite. And Onsite is the worldwide leader in intensive workshops and treatment for those that suffer from emotional trauma and mental health issues. Do you agree he's delusional here?
Yes. Yeah.
Would you take the help that I'm offering you to get some evaluation done and focus on yourself and get some professional help with this?
Yeah.
I really think it would be helpful to you. When you finish at Onsite, I'm also going to set Maurice up with ongoing therapy after he leaves here today. You know, at Doctor On Demand, we also have an extensive network of board-certified doctor-level psychologists that can see patients on the Doctor On Demand app from the comfort of your own house. You don't have to get in the car and drive to the therapist office. It's easier, it's cheaper, and in my opinion, every bit as effective. And for those of you at home that want to, you can download the Doctor On Demand app at Google Plays or the App Store. I want to thank all of my guests today. I want to give a special thanks to Dr. Pat Basu, Dr. Lawless, and the P&B Center, as well as Miles Adcock and On-Site for offering to help Maurice and the family as well. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.